their local church longed for an appointment with him. To others, he was the extremist priest who saw the devil everywhere. At the same time, there were the endless hosts of consecrated priests and religious who were not able or did not wish to believe in the gospel or to become familiar with the immeasurable suffering of the many persons who are the object of the extraordinary attentions of the enemy. He had written dozens of books, preached on Radio Maria, and was on familiar terms with bishops, cardinals, and politicians. He was, however, extremely easy to contact. After I left him a voicemail, he returned the call the same day, and we made an appointment to meet within a few days. This was, for me, a source of amazement, because his agenda was jammed and he had the reputation of being unreachable. But the mission of communicating his ministry was so strong that he agreed immediately to our interviews. Thus, one Sunday afternoon in Rome, on Via Alessandro Severo, I met with him in the room where he practiced exorcism, a very simple space that clashed with the elegance of the building's entrance, a room with faded tapestries and a decidedly worn armchair, a statue of Mary, some sacred images, and a small crucifix on a low table. Before me was a man in a cassock, in a time when the Paulines had already put cassocks in the attic among the cobwebs. He was tall, bald, had crooked teeth and a welcoming smile, attentive, smiling eyes, and a simple manner of speaking that took me by surprise with his truly unexpected capacity to communicate. He liked to say, "The habit doesn't make the monk, but the habit immediately says to everyone that you are a monk." We worked well together that first afternoon. I had prepared for that meeting by reading some of his writings, but hearing him speak passionately of certain mysterious things and of his love for Jesus and Mary was a unique and fascinating experience. This meeting was followed by several others, and a trust developed gradually between us, a mutual understanding, a feeling of friendship, but with the delicate and decisive awareness of his being a priest. Even today, it does not cease to amaze me how a man so intransigent and with such an authoritarian character, a priest whose mission had him doing combat with evil spirits, could also be so sensible and sweet. I recall an afternoon one Easter when I was in Rome with my family. We went to visit him, and he knew that there would be 2 small children with us. He was incredible. When he opened the door, he held 2 large chocolate Easter eggs. With the shiny green paper with which they had been wrapped, he formed 2 large rabbit ears to frame his face, and with a little dance and an expression of godly tenderness, he welcomed my 2 little ones. Then he immediately organized a funny face competition just to play with them a little. Slowly, throughout the years, profiting from my occasional work in Rome, I gathered more material, because Father Gabriele, although humble, loved to speak of himself and relate stories about his faith and his experiences. One day I asked, "Father Gabriele, why don't we write a spiritual testament? Your spirituality is so rich. I think that it is important to pass it on to those who have not had the experience of knowing you personally." Becoming serious, he replied, "I have to think about it. It seems to me that I do not have much to say. What I have had to say I have repeated so many times." Then he added, "One may regret having spoken, but never for having kept silent." A few weeks passed. Then he wrote to me confirming that he did not feel ready or able to write a spiritual testament. It seemed to him to be too great a project for him at that time. But such was his love for his experiences that he made himself available to go into depth over certain aspects of his ministry. The text that follows is the fruit of those conversations faithfully transcribed. Rereading them, I can still hear his voice with his Emilian cadence